The strategy was liquidity sweeps and reversals, and I got my first eval in early August, August 6th. I passed my first eval in August 14th, and I got my first payout by August 29th. And my first payout was for.
Yo, how's it going, everyone? It's Eric again, and today I have a very special video for you all. Today I'm interviewing my student, Emmy, who's been learning with me since summer of 2024, and he's actually one of the most fastest profitable students I've ever taught. So within just 1 month of joining my mentorship and learning with me, keep in mind he knew absolutely nothing. Within 1 month, he was able to get his first payout of over $1,000, and now is making over $50,000 a year and will make even more in the future. So sit back, relax, and listen to him as he talks about his journey of how he got to where he is with trading.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm Emmy. Real name here, but yeah, Emmy, just easier to remember. So basically, my background is I first got into internet money like around 2020. So basically, what happened is that most people were failing their classes, right? And this was back in COVID. Most people were failing their classes, and I was like, okay, there's some big money to be made here. It's because everyone was failing their online classes. So what I did is I made up like a kind of online service, a Discord server, where people would go submit their classes that they needed to get done, and then they would just, I would just take their classes. They'd pay me like 400, $500, and I would just get some guy from Kenya or India to do that shit for like 50, and I would just take the remaining profits, right? So that was my first introduction into, how illusory money is, right? Because there was me, like a kid, like who would think $20 was a lot of money. I thought $20 was big money back then. If you gave me $5, I thought I was rich. I genuinely thought I was rich, right? And now all of a sudden I was making 500, $600 at a time from just a push of a couple buttons, and I was making 3K, 4K a month out of nowhere. So that was like my big wow scenario, right? That like my big eye opener. And then I was like, there's no way I go back to normal life. There's no way I go back to working 10 hours a day for a fixed paycheck after I was experienced that. You feel me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then basically I lost my job to ChatGPT when ChatGPT came out. I was the first victim of AI. So, but I still had some money left over, right? So, I'm just trying to find a way to keep it going, keep that momentum going. Because, like I said, there was no way I go back to normal, right? So, yeah, I got into drop shipping, right? This was I think back in Eric when I found you, 2024. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah,
2024.
2024.
Or no, or okay, 2023 then. Late 2023 I got into drop shipping, right? And I was just scrolling on TikTok. I found this guy named Cody Leo, right? That was his name. And I got with his course and I talked to him a bit in DMs. I bought him and he just maybe he like barely talked. He's probably a scammer, right? So I just lost $500, $600 from that from both the course and the money I spent on ads. Um, yeah, it was just a big scam. Anyways, yeah, and then basically what I did is okay, if dropshipping clearly isn't going to be working, and I know this guy is clearly not going to help me learn, what I started to do is okay, I'm going to sell ads, right? I had a like a little AI service that I bought, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna make AI ads for drop shippers, right? Because like in a gold rush, the people who sold shovels got more money than the people who looked for gold, right? So that's the kind of mindset I was going in. And that's how I found Eric, because Eric was in that guy Cody's server, right? And then I DM'd Eric and was like, "Hey, yeah, if you have a dropshipping store, I'll make your ads for you. Blah blah blah. I'll connect you with my team." There was no fucking team. It was just me.
That's
So
crazy.
right,
Man, here's the hustling.
right. So yeah. That being said, yeah, and then he basically said, "Oh, I don't do drop shipping, but I day trade." And I'm like, "You know what? I give up." Because at this point, I had no guidance. I was like walking in this very blindly, and it's really hard to do something blindly without having any prior experience in the area, right? So yeah, I just said, I'm just gonna learn day trading, and then I talked to this guy first, Eric. I think the first reason that made me realize this guy is like an actual person was I DM'd him to teach me, and he was like, "Oh, it's Memorial Day and I want to spend time with my family. Can you postpone it?" And I was like, okay, so this guy, he actually has a family and like he cares about them and whatever. So like that was the first sign to me that he's an actual person. Um, and then I went through his following, obviously, and I was like, okay, there's people who follow him back. There's people who like, he has an actual social life. He's an actual kid like me who just happens to make a lot more money. Who just happens to make a lot more money. So, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll get with him. And yeah, from then on, I asked him. This is gonna be crazy because you can show all the screenshots of the DMs, like you can just clip them into the YouTube video, right?
Yeah,
So, I back in like June. I think I bought it May 24, 2024. Yeah. May 24, 2024. I think around there was our first call.
yeah,
And yeah, from then on, I was just like, he sent me a bunch of videos from this YouTuber named tjrtrades. And I was just watching all of his playlists, just shotgunning all of his playlists, right? And he taught me all of these basic ICT concepts. And yeah, I learned those concepts from him. And then and all of this time, May to late July of 2024, I was just learning paper trading, right? I was just learning how to paper trade. So, but once I came back, but the reason I was still paper trading is because I was overseas that entire time. So I came back to the States at around July 20th, 2024. Around there, I came back to the States and I was like, okay, now I know the concepts. Now I need a strategy. So Eric, he used Silver Bullet, but the issue with Eric is that he didn't live trade back then, right? I knew he was profitable. I've seen his payouts. He just didn't live trade back then. So then what I did is I looked for someone who actually live traded using ICT concepts. He had to use ICT concepts, otherwise all of the work I did with Eric would be for nothing, right? So I found someone who live traded, who was profitable with ICT concepts, and he was look genuine. So I learned from him, and I learned the strategy very fast. I got my first eval. The strategy was liquidity sweeps and reversals, and I got my first eval in early August. His name was Tempo Trade. I got my first eval August 6th. I passed my first eval in August 14th, and I got my first payout by August 29th. And you guys can see all the screenshots here. I'm sure he'll splice them in.
yeah.
But
I'll
yeah,
scroll
so
as
that's
well.
how I got my first. Yeah, that's how I got my first payout in my first month. After I got my, so I spent maybe like, this is the private prop from people. I got my first. I spent maybe $300. I spent maybe $300 on my first Top Step account, 50K, and like passing it in the activation fee. But I didn't realize that once you request a payout, like you can't trade anymore. I didn't know that. So I still traded. I traded the next day and I lost some money. And then they told me your pay's been done. I'm like, why? And they said, oh, because now it's below the 50% of the balance. So that kind of sucked. I could have had 1,500. I had to settle with 1,230, but whatever. I mean, I was broke, right? A guy with
Take
$0.
take
I
any
had
payout.
literally $0.
When it's
Yeah,
your
I had
first
zero
payout,
dollars
just
in the
get a
bank
return
account.
on investment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had $0 in the bank account. There's no way like I bargained with the 1230, right?
yeah.
So I took that and then I blew the account right after I got my first payout. And that was devastating to me because number one, I didn't even know that the drawdown says to zero after the first payout. That's on me, right? I should have researched that. But yeah, I blew that first account and I was like, I was really devastated. I thought it was the end of the world, right? I was like terribly devastated. You couldn't tell me anything back then. And so, but I think that overreaction to it, like looking back, it was an overreaction, obviously, because number one, I just had my first payout. People don't usually get that within months.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, most
but
people can
yeah, I
never
think
reach a
that
payout.
yeah, exactly. So it was in hindsight, it was an overreaction. But me, you can show these DMs. Like I had a plan to hit 10K in my first month within that year, and for most people, you could say it was cockiness, right? For me, it wasn't being cocky. It was because it was like blind faith in myself, like because I genuinely thought I could do this. Like
Mhm.
I never thought like something would be impossible to do because as long as someone else had done it before, then why would it be unrealistic for you? You
Yeah.
know, it's
And
not
once you get like
unrealistic as long as you have it.
Yeah, and once you get that like
Yeah,
first payout, you realize and it hits your bank, you're like, this can actually happen. So it really
yeah,
motivates you. It can make you rush the process a little bit, of course, but definitely very eye opening. So,
Yeah. I remember my first message was, "Oh my God, trading is real." Right? So yeah, it is a huge eye opener. It makes you realize that it doesn't have to be like that. Life doesn't have to be like that's monotone of just working a 9 to 5, and obviously there's nothing wrong with that, but
mhm,
again, like just working to for minimum wage and for a non-secure job as well, which most people do have. I mean, some people are lucky enough to have a good job. That's good for them, but for the most vast majority of people, it's not like that, right?
yeah.
So yeah,
So, how
it,
would
it
you say
was a
like
huge eye opener.
trading contributes? I mean, I guess to your ideal lifestyle or current lifestyle.
Um, so basically, it just it gives me something to look forward to, honestly. So now I actually have a plan for the future because right now, like with the Discord I've been making, like we have like 50 people almost joining daily. Maybe like on average 35 to 50 people joining up every single day, and it's really like amazing because like just less than a year ago, I literally did not know how to trade, and now there's 40, 50 people joining up every single day to watch me trade less than a year later. So number one, that shows me that's like giving me incredible confidence in myself. Like it's like if I want to get something done, I don't hesitate to get it done because I've seen what I can do before.
Yeah.
um what else, right? Now I'm just like working on a plan to just get to scaling to 10K and then upwards of 50, 100K in a month, and yeah, I just have a plan for the future now.
Hmm. And I guess in terms of like challenges, what would you say your biggest one is so far?
As of now,
Yeah, yeah.
like trading success, probably risk to reward, if anything.
Mm,
Probably just, being because like I said, because of trimming contracts while in a trade, it does hurt your risk reward, and I'm not that good at trimming. I'll mess up my trims every now and then, which just goes to show you that even profitable people, they make mistakes. By the way, the reason I got profitable so fast is because every time I made a mistake, I literally wrote it down in my journal. You can show in like a clip of my journal, right? Wrote it down in my journal every single day. I journaled every day diligently. So
mm,
like the next day, I would work to specifically make sure to solve that mistake I made the previous day. Because eventually, if you keep correcting every mistake you make, you're going to get to a point where you don't make any mistakes. That's common sense, right?
yeah. I think that's like a big thing in
So,
my mentorship, or I remember like bugging you about in the beginning. I was like, journal every trade,
yeah.
make sure you write down every mistakes. And then yeah, I can add some screenshots if you can see on the screen, of me saying that, and also like of journals of successful and not successful trading days. But with trading, you have to always be analyzing your mistakes that you make so you don't make them again.
You remember for our first call, I showed up with a notebook?
Yeah, I was like, yo, this guy is locked in. He's ready to learn. Like, for most of the students I have, like they're not like ready like that. But that was really, I mean, awesome for me to see as well. Like for myself, like if I'm teaching someone, I really want them to actually be there and
Mhm.
wanting to learn and absorb information. Um,
Yeah.
learning for free versus paying for something. What would you say the difference is there?
Okay, so here's the issue with learning for free. When you go learning for free, I mean, this is going to sound biased because we're both mentors.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
It's like Nancy Pelosi telling people, not to insider trade.
Yeah.
But okay. Here's the thing, because it's like you guys obviously you see the screenshots, right? You see the screenshots. You know I was unprofitable. You know I went through the learning process. You see my journal, right? But here's the thing: when you try learning for free, it's possible. I've seen some people do it, but you run into a lot of shit, right? The issue is that there's just too much information, right? You have this concept and this strategy and that concept and that strategy. What's going to end up happening is that you're going to end up learning too much, right? Learning too much is a thing in trading because what's going to happen is that you know too many concepts. And then one strategy is going to tell you one thing, the other strategy is going to tell you another thing. What's going to end up happening is you're not going to end up doing anything, right? Because now you're
Yeah.
scared, right? So, and then when you end
FOMO.
up doing nothing and you see, yeah, and then well, you're gonna end up doing nothing, and then when price starts working in a direction, you FOMO in, and because you got a terrible entry and the price, you lose money, And then when you lose money, you blame the strategy. No, it wasn't the strategy's fault. It was your mindset. It was always your
Exactly.
mindset, you
And
know?
then you know like so many concepts and different strategies. You try to do different strategies at once. You see one's telling you to go long, another one's telling you to go
Yeah.
short. You're like, "Oh my goodness. What do I even do?"
Oh,
It's overwhelming. So, definitely I think having a mentor telling you, what exactly to learn as well as like what to focus on really helps you have that clarity and not waste time and lose money in the process of learning.
possible. It is possible to learn for free, but you're not going to get there without trial and error. And when you go through the trial and error, you might end up losing more money than you would have spent if you spot a mentor in the first place, right? And remember, guys, it is like possible. Like if you have a long, you might have a long and a short in the same place, right? There's a ton of times Eric was in the long and I was in the short, and both of us made money because
Yeah.
I just made money off. Yeah, because I made money off the pullback, and he made money off the overall trend. You know, just yesterday, just Friday, yeah, you can show them. He was in the long, and I took the short right after the long. See, both of us made really good money Friday.
Mhm. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Just how trading works in general. Going into the mentorship, you mentioned, you saying you thought I was like a real person and everything, but in terms of like what you were looking for, what did you expect? Like what kind of results you were gonna see after going with me?
Uh,
Did you have any expectations?
I was expecting 10K in a month my first year. Honestly, I was expecting that. You could call me delusional, but then again, if I wasn't delusional, I probably wouldn't have even gotten my first pay in my first month. If I wasn't delusional, then I wouldn't even have made my Discord server. I had my Discord server from before I ever got my first payout. In my head, I wasn't even lying. In my head, I genuinely believed I was already profitable, and I didn't even realize that I was just saying a flat out lie. I did not realize
Oh, he
that,
was lying to
right?
himself.
I was lying to myself and I didn't even realize it, guys. It was crazy. But here's the thing, maybe if I wasn't like that, then I probably wouldn't have gotten to where I was already, right? But it was because I already believed I was profitable that I showed profitable habits, that I waited for my setup, that I executed when my setup was there, that I didn't over leverage. These are all habits of a profitable person. And if you believe you are that person, then naturally you're going to follow those habits, you know? So, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, having that mindset of like you're already where you want to be and you just follow the actions of what that person is at.
You
Like
can be anyone you want. You can be anyone you want to be in the world because all you got to
exactly.
do is just copy what they did. It's
Yeah.
so simple, genuinely.
Like what would you say is, what makes my mentorship differ from other people?
Number one, you actually do calls, right?
Hmm.
The fact that you even show up for the calls in the first place is something because most mentors they just won't even show up for the call, right? Number two, you're an actual guy, right? Like you're like most kids. You're not just some. You're not like TGR and a Koenigs. What car did he buy?
Koenigsegg,
Koenigsegg.
3.6 million dollar
Koenigsegg.
car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that, yeah. You're not one of those guys. You're like a kid and like who actually goes to college and has a social life. And it's better to like learn from people like who are besides like their skill and their knowledge and their monetary status. Besides all that, they are just like you, right? And I think that's a big thing. Like all the people, my best teachers, including Eric and other people who I learned from, like Tempo, they're people like me. They're people my age who just happen to be on a higher monetary status. But other than that, they live like me. They had friends like me. They talk like me. And I think that's the main thing that attracted to me. That you were just like one of us. I would say.
Yeah, for sure. And do you think, maybe learning from someone who's kind of like your age or maybe in your environment makes it a little bit easier to learn or even, makes you more
Definitely,
successful?
definitely. Because you see, like, let's say if we were learning from someone much older, what would happen is like it would feel more like a classroom,
Yeah.
right? It would feel a lot more like a classroom. And what would happen is that maybe you're not comfortable with asking questions. Maybe you would feel either because like it's like an older younger dynamic. You would feel a little more uneasy. And what happens with that is you would hold your back from asking some critical questions that you do need to ask. And maybe you would be ashamed of admitting your faults to like a teacher like figure.
Mhm.
But like if I made a mistake, I would tell Eric, okay, I fucked up. If it was like an actual 40, 50-year-old man, I probably wouldn't be like that,
Mhm.
because it would just feel weird, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like when you have someone who's actually like you're much more able to open up because he's like a friend.
For sure, yeah. I think having someone relatable just makes it easier to like share your and just
Yeah,
your whole journey
definitely,
in general, which makes learning
definitely.
better. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I guess what what advice would you have for yourself, even before the mentorship or even learning trading back then for yourself?
Be okay with making mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Like right, like you say, I always say this to everyone. Everything I ever do right is because I once did it wrong. Right? I am everything I ever do right is because I once did it wrong. Right? You're never going to learn anything if you don't fail at it first. So fail early and fail often. Fail, fail, fail. That's the only way you're going to realize what doesn't work. And when you realize what doesn't work, you'll realize what works, right? Thomas Edison, he said, I think like what he made like 300 inventions that didn't work, and someone said, "Oh wow, you made 1,000 things that don't work. You just wasted your time." And he said, "No, now I know 1,000 things that wouldn't work."
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So that's exactly the mindset you got to go with.
And then that next
Right?
one,
I
once
was
you hit
able.
it, it works.
I got profitable. Yeah, I got profit. Like right now, I'm probably like sitting at six, seven, seven payouts. Six, seven. I've probably sitting at like seven payouts maybe within my first year of trading, and that's a lot more than people can say for like the entire career. And the reason I got to here is because I realized I was gonna make mistakes, and I learned from those mistakes. I'd use those mistakes as things to learn from, not to feel bad about. Although I did feel bad about it, that wasn't the primary thing. I
Hmm.
learned from it. What else? Oh, also, this is kind of hypocritical for me to say because I did think I was gonna hit 10K my first month in my first in like within a month of trading. But I always tell people, if you rush the process, you'll lose all the progress, right? Just rush the process and lose the progress, right? You gotta be able to be okay with making mistakes and just learning from them. Otherwise, you are going to lose all progress that you made if you try to rush it, right? And that's actually how I was able to progress so fast because I wasn't trying to rush it at
Exactly.
first, at least.
It's very strange. Once you don't rush it, that's when actually results come
That's
faster.
when the
And I would say
so
for
yeah.
anyone like watching this video that's thinking about getting trading, or maybe unprofitable, or just thinking about my mentorship, um,
Hmm.
you know, having high expectations or high goals or aspirations is great, but sometimes, you need to have like you need to be a little bit realistic as well. Like first month of trading, you're probably not going to make 10K. You need to give yourself a little bit more time and kind of just, put in
Trying
the
to get
work,
a
put your
payout.
head down, and
Yep.
those results you're looking for are going to come. Like for me, I was trying trading for like the first 1.5 years. I was doing like small cap stocks. And it was going okay, but nothing really came of it until I actually like locked in with back testing, journaling, again, getting a mentor, which really changed things for me. By my like second through halfway through my second year, that's when I started making money consistently through trading.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I do think you guys should get someone to teach you because going through that trial and error is not worth it. Definitely don't go through that trial and error yourself. Trading is dangerous. You can lose a shit ton of money if you're not careful. Like
Yeah.
way more money, and it's really not worth that risk. It's really
So
not
is
worth
that
that
like your
risk.
main advice to someone who might be on the fence of joining the mentorship or any mentorship?
My 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 main advice would be number one: if you're in debt, do not start trading. If you're in debt, do not start trading because what's gonna happen is you're gonna be trading for the money, right? Number two, it's best if you have an income source if you already have a job, right? If you already have money coming in, that's when you could start trading because then you would be able to treat the trading as more of a skill, right? This is just
Mhm.
a skill that I'm going to learn. I'm just going to learn how to do it. You're in training, right? So that way, and you're not really concerned about the money of it, the monetary aspect of it, because you're already having money coming in and you're not in immediate financial need. By the way, if anyone is like 22, 21, 20, 19, 18 watching this advice specifically for you. You guys don't have any better time to start than right now. Like I'm being so dead ass. I'm 21. My only regret is I started paper trading with Eric back when I was 19. My only regret is I didn't start earlier, right? Because the older you get, the more responsibilities you're gonna have. The
Exactly.
more responsibilities you're gonna have, the more excuses you're gonna develop. when it comes to, okay, do I learn this, right? Because the more responsibilities are the more liabilities, the more things that are at stake when it comes to taking on a big business or venture like trading, right? So, for example, if you're in grad school, you're gonna say, "Oh, I got classes, I got exams," and you would be right. And if you got married, you would go, "No, I have a family to take care of," and you would be right. Excuses don't really come from laziness. They don't necessarily come from laziness. They come from other priorities, and sometimes those priorities are actually valid,
Mhm.
right? And those priorities come more and more as you grow older. So start young. You have
Yeah.
to start young.
When you're young, you have the time, you have less responsibilities,
Mhm.
you can really kind of work on anything you want, especially in trading, right? You're setting yourself up. If you learn something, even you're just making an extra five, seven, ideally you want to make like 10, 20K a month. But even if you're just making a few extra thousand a month, like once you have the skill
It's
down,
amazing.
it's rinse and repeat, and you don't have to put more
Yeah,
than an hour. But of course, to get to that point, it
beautiful
takes a
thing.
lot of time and effort, which while you're younger, you'll be able to have that energy and time to put in.
The beautiful thing about trading is that the same trade that you made your first payout with is the same trade that you will one day make 20K with, right? Because hey, the only difference that's separating you from your first payout to 10K in a month is just copy trading. It's just a number of candidates copied. It's the same strategy, it's the same psychology, it's the same damn trade, it's just copied you
Exactly.
know? So it's amazing. It is so scalable. So just know how to put in that one trade, and you unlock how to unlock thousands more dollars every single month.
Exactly. And I think that's like also a big misconception with people trying to get into trading. They think you have to become the ultimate like predictor of the market and catch an entire move in a single day. But really all you need is like four 8 points on S&P or Nasdaq, maybe like 20,
Or
30 points a day,
so,
right? That
or
trade, maybe it's
you,
like $200 on one account or one share or contract. But once you get like 10, 20, 30 funded accounts, it quickly just multiplies,
mhm.
and that's how you hit, 5,000, $10,000 days. And really just
that two hundred
multiplies and
dollars,
goes crazy.
$200 becomes that $200 on one funded account becomes $2,000 from just 10 funded accounts. And it's really not that hard to get, if I'm going to be honest. It's really not that hard to get. If you just know how to pass them, once you get a little experience, it's easy for you.
Exactly. Yeah, in terms of trading, what would you say like your current profit per month is?
Uh, say, because so recently I was trading on 50Ks all this time, and I just closed down my 50Ks to start focus on scaling 150Ks. I could have taken a payout for $1,000 this month, but I didn't because I'm trying to get it to a buffer of 4,500
Mhm.
before taking anything out, so I could continue withdrawing across it. But before I did that, I was averaging maybe like 3K a month, which is pretty solid for someone who just started. Uh Altogether in profits, I would say probably close to 10K, around there, close to 10K. I think my in October I requested a payout for 3K, and November I think I requested for 500. December I requested for 1,000. Yeah, altogether it would be probably around like 10K.
Nice. So that total investment into the mentorship has turned you probably
Yeah,
like what, 10, 50x into what you put
yeah,
in originally. And, obviously as
yeah.
time keeps passing and you start scaling with trading, that's going to become a lot bigger of an amount.
Yeah, it was everything, and also like because of those concepts that I learned, I was able to build my own Discord, which I can like scale to however much money I want in the future.
Yeah. So I think that's all the questions I have for you. So did you have any for me?
I think that's all, bro. I think we're gonna come back to this within a couple months to start
Yeah.
talking about how I hit my first 10K month.
We'll
Guarantee
do
it.
do another interview once Emmy hits 10K in 1 month.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing,
It's
and
gonna be
we can
crazy.
clip this into that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Hi me in the past. Hi me in the future. I mean.